Those were a lot.
Thanks, Chris. Do the short straw.
All right, it's 7:00. Welcome to the Plan Commission. I would like to ask for the roll call, please.
Bruce,
Here.
Erdman Hermans. Here. Harp,
Here.
Schaefer,
Here.
Slavish,
Here.
and Mayor Kuhn is present.
Thank you. And the next item is the approval of minutes. Do I have a motion?
Schaefer will move.
Bruce will second.
Okay, and any comments? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approves. And the next item is set a public hearing for rezoning from Plan Development District's specific implementation plan to Plan Development District General Implementation Plan for the Greenway Mixed Use Development, 8309 to 8313 Greenway Boulevard. Do I have a motion?
Bruce will move to set the public hearing.
Slavish will second.
Thank you. Any comments? All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next on the agenda is the design review, two-story office building at 1630 North High Point Road. Do I have a motion to approve? For reasons to have the conversation and demonstration.
Bruce will make a motion to approve.
Schaefer will second it.
Thank you. And comments?
This is an update from the staff report. I apologize that I had an error in the parking stall requirements. I had listed that this development would typically be required to have 55 parking stalls, and that was based on the total gross square footage of the building, but that included the parking. So the actual requirement would be, we would typically require 36 parking stalls because it's one stall per 300 square feet. So the building is just over or just about 11,000 square feet. The applicant is proposing 25 stalls. We've been the first to admit that our parking stalls are a bit outdated and we're working on updating those with the zoning ordinance. The applicant is represented here by Nick Bajura from Sketchworks Architecture, in case anyone has any questions.
Thank you for that update. I was wondering on the 55, so we appreciate that.
Does staff want to go through the report or is it pretty self-explanatory?
It's pretty straightforward because this project is one of the first projects that's come before the Plan Commission in quite some time that meets the current zoning standards. And so this is this is an application for design review. Everything complies with the current setback requirements, lot coverage, the land use fits within the zoning for the office district. There is one difference with design review from most of the applications that come before the commission, and that is that the approvals rests with the Plan Commission. So our recommendation is for design review approval. There are 4 contingencies that we've listed. Those are resolution of the engineering staff recommendations that are embedded in the document, compliance with the city's outdoor lighting code. The applicant did submit a lighting plan. It looked like there might be a couple of fixtures that had a little bit of spillover onto adjacent properties. So we would need to make sure that they're in compliance before we could issue a permit. Also approval of a stormwater management plan, and they have submitted a plan now to our Public Works Department for review. And then also we're going to be regularly including a new contingency for approval of the access and site layout by public safety, fire, EMS, and police. They get all of the plans sent to them for review, but we want to make sure that we include that as a backstop because we did have some concerns from EMS about a project that was approved recently and how they would access the building. So we are going to try to carry that forward just so we can make sure that that's a backstop for us before we would issue a permit and before our building inspector would issue a building permit, that we make sure that they've signed off on everything. And also Steve Schulfer has joined from Sketchworks as well, in case there are any questions.
I had just a quick question. First of all, I think the design looks great. It's really a nice looking building. My only question would be, and arguably it's the least visible elevation, but the north elevation, that stairwell that you've got laid out seems like a bit of an afterthought. It's not really architecturally, doesn't seem like it fits with the rest of the building. It seems just kind of an add-on. And maybe, I know you're trying to protect the windows above. Like if you were to box that out, you might lose that, or be forced to go with some kind of transom windows or something there. But I'm just curious as to the thoughts behind that.
Yeah, I think if you could, Abby, or I'm not sure who's
Daphne.
Daphne's controlling that. If you could go to the site plan for a moment, I can explain. So the stairwell snuggles into the property line. You'll see the property line jogs slightly to the north, leaving a slight void there where we're trying to fit the stairwell in. Because we're within 10 feet of the property line, we need to make that a rated stairwell. We have been playing with different material choices with it to try to enhance the aesthetics of it. But from a utilitarian standpoint, it's got to be fire rated because of its proximity, and it's necessary for exiting based on this design layout. So we can certainly look at material options, but we don't have any intention of making this a usable floor or extending the roof plane all the way up. It's more of let's call it what it is. It's a back stairwell. So happy to look at the aesthetics. I mean, we don't want it to look tacked on. So
Yeah, just a suggestion. One person's opinion.
Steve, while you're up there, can I just ask one other comment?
you're ready.
Obviously the site's pretty tight, and you've done a good job of placing the building and the parking, and you're using underground parking, which I really appreciate. Given the fact that you're not meeting the parking standards anyways, would you be amenable to losing the one stall that's closest to North High Point Road in the front, just to get a little bit more of a landscape buffer there for the paving?
Interesting question. I think one of the challenges we've been having is trying to allocate enough parking spots for visitors. Those would be designated really to visitors of our building. I'm afraid to lose another stall in the front there, considering that we've already got one allocated to accessible parking, leaving 3 non-accessible spots, and the street parking, of course. Happy to look at ways to landscape it, happy to look at ways to enhance the view, but I'd really prefer not to lose a spot. up
Yeah,
there.
well, I think it would actually make the presentation of the building more attractive.
Yeah.
You've got,
doubt that.
your front entrance is really onto the main drive. So if we can get something to soften that up, I think it would be a big plus. In reality, instead of parking there, the visitors will park right on the street, right in front of your door, and walk in. I don't think it's going to be much of an issue.
Yeah.
I would want that reviewed though, in terms of access again, because that would tighten up. If that were not paved, that would tighten up the access for emergency vehicles.
Could.
So, but yeah, I appreciate the idea of adding more of a landscape buffer there.
And I think John had his hand up, and then Mark. That's
I
okay.
might know, first of all, I think it's a great design. I go by that property 4 times a day, and it's not the most beautiful place to drive by. I think what you've done with this building is fit into the character of the other buildings, the vet hospital and things that are there, in size and stature. I like the fact that it fans out to the back, so your frontage exposure is relatively small. I like the fact that the parking entrance is off the back, off of the, coming in against the highway side, as opposed to, I think you've done a very nice job of sort of diminishing the sense of the building. And while I concur with the landscaping things, it's fine. I don't think to me, it's not a make or break. I just think it's essentially a very nice fit for the space, and I'd be glad to see. I mean, I'm sure what was there was a good business, but I'd be glad to see this come into its place. So,
Yeah. Thank
I
you.
think it's fine.
Mark?
Thank you. Randy, you raised an interesting point, and I just thought I would take the opportunity to mention that in our zoning ordinance that we are currently drafting, which is a draft is nearly completed. There is the concept of the landscape buffer is being incorporated into that ordinance to require, I believe it's in all cases, and maybe Daphne even remembers too, but I think it's a 10-foot buffer from the property line for parking and drive aisles. So the concept is something that we are looking at in the future going forward.
Good.
The property just to the north, is that that private house, is it not? Yeah.
Well,
I mean, there's a bunch of trees in there at the moment, but those could disappear depending.
Yep, it's a single family.
Daphne, could you go back to the site plan, please?
Yeah.
is this replacing the landscaping service?
Nick Badura is our project manager on this, sitting here as well. There may be an opportunity for us to slide all of those parking stalls a little bit to the west, closer to the building, to allow that landscape buffer and then grant access. What we're doing is our accessible access is via our ramp on the north side of our outdoor patio. And difficult to see on this particular plan. I think some of the other site plans had it shown, but if we were to cheat all of the accessible stall, and then the 3 adjacent parking stalls, everything to the west about 5 feet, I think we could maintain our 4 parking stalls and get an additional landscape buffer if that's okay with you guys.
I think that would be good.
Well, I just want to highlight, I think what Abby was saying, that it met everything coming to us. And I appreciate that. May not happen in the rest of my plan meetings for the year. So thank you for having that. And I really appreciate the Plan Commission's insights on ways to work together. So, and keep those parking spots. So thank you. Any further comments?
I have a question for staff. In terms of parking along High Point Road, is it a long-term thought that we would continue, that would be continued over time? You know?
It was recently reevaluated under an initiative by the former alderperson for the district. And I know that parking is used heavily by Capital Brewery. And so I mean, the city's current thinking is that we will have parking on one side of High Point Road, and that would continue. I mean, of course, that could change if someone else does another study and decides to change that. But for now, we intend to keep that.
Otherwise, I think it looks great.
Do I need to amend the motion to include the staff comments?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'll do that, make a motion for approval contingent on resolution of staff comments as listed in the report.
And the person who seconded it, do you agree?
Is it you or me?
I think it's John.
I think it was you, John. I think it was you. We both agree.
We both agree.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
So the second was Slavish or Schaefer?
I don't remember.
Schaefer.
Okay.
We think
I
it's
think I
fine.
did, but yeah, who knows?
All right. And with that, we're at adjourning. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
Sure, I'll make it. It's my last meeting. Yeah.
All right. Do I have a second?
Harp second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much and have a great night.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for